Welcome to On the Couch, the podcast where real conversations meet real change. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, and join us as we dive deep into the conversations that matter most to Black and Brown communities. Hosted by Dr. Diamond and an incredible lineup of co-hosts. On the Couch brings you raw, insightful, and empowering discussions, from mental health and wellness to entrepreneurship, life insurance, healthcare, and everything in between. Our mission is simple: to educate, uplift, and create space for conversations that need to be heard. Whether you're here for practical advice, motivation, or just a dose of inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the things that shape our lives, our futures, and our communities. This is On the Couch, where we keep it real, keep it relevant, and keep it moving. Let's get started.
Good. Although it is brisk outside, I haven't been out there yet. My plan is to go get my granddaughter in a little bit, but I really don't want to go out there. But anyway, welcome to On the Couch. I'm your host, Dr. Diamond, with my fabulous co-hosts that are waiting in the wings. And today we are creating a space for truth, resilience, and we're going to be talking to two survivors of breast cancer. So this episode, we're going to be honoring the strength of these women. They're going to tell us about their story, who they are, how they made it through, and then, possibly give us, what tips that they received or what they've learned over the years to take care of yourself out there, Black women, because this is important for us to take care of ourselves. Okay, so again, today we're going to be joined with two phenomenal women, Nyree and Sharon Allen, both courageous breast cancer survivors whose journey remind us of the beauty and preservations and the importance of community. Their stories are not just about survival, they're about transformation, faith, and the kind of inner strength that inspires others to keep fighting. So I'm excited about meeting them today like you all are. But before we bring them on, I got my co-host waiting in the wings. We're going to bring on Mark Lee, and we got Miss Toya also. So let's see what's going on with these two. Howdy. Howdy. Howdy.
How y'all doing?
Everybody.
Good. How's everybody doing? Now, Mark, I'm a Toya just for a second, because you and I are in the same place. We're in Jersey. Yeah. I'm curious about how the weather is making out down there in the NC. What is going on with the weather?
Yes. There is this thing called wind. It is very windy. It is cold. It was like about 32 degrees. And I think they said we might get down to 19. But then on Tuesday or Wednesday is supposed to be like in the 60s. So we're having that schizophrenic weather that we have in North Carolina sometimes, but it is definitely on the cold side here today. I stepped out and all along those lines. So it was a cold weather and everything like that. It made me almost think that I was back in school at Marquette. As you can see, if you can, I'm wearing my Marquette shirt today because actually it is Marquette Day, because we're one of those colleges that has a national day where the alumni go out and celebrate, hopefully a victory, even though we've been having a very difficult season this year. So I decided I would rep my university and everything like that. So I'm repping my university on National Marquette Day and all along those lines. But it definitely it's cold out there. And it was a long time ago. It's almost 40 plus years ago that I was at Marquette. And I feel like I'm back in Milwaukee because it's that kind of cold and everything along those lines.
That is awesome. So look, nothing wrong with representing, right?
No, it's not. It keeps you youthful. Those are some of the happiest days of our lives. And I think about college, I'm glad I did that experience. Some people can go and they can do a trade or something like that, but I feel that we all are individual in what our pursuit of happiness is. And I wanted to go to a historically black college. I said, however, I had to go where the money was. Right. So, these are one of the things that as far as we had the episode about the books, our history is changing. So right now, just instill the secondary education if it's for you, and if not, I always tell the folks that I have mentored over the years, maybe try community college, because I've seen so many folks who've gone and didn't complete due to financial reasons. At least you get your associates. That's something that you have, and you have something addition from your 12 years of high school. So just a little tidbit, because you know what, it is Black History Month, and you know we have the HBCUs, and hey, go get that and support the teams. As you know, Super Bowl is
Yeah, yes, all you Super Bowl people. I have nothing against the Super Bowl because back in the day I used to watch it, but now, I kind of got away from football. But I'm glad you brought up Black History Month because it is, although it's the shortest month that we get to celebrate. But how about we're Black 365 days of the year? Therefore,
Tell me
we have
about it.
history going on all the time. I am a black person. You hear me? I love our history. I love who we are as people, how brilliant we are, because we are brilliant people and we know how to make a way out of no way. So you can't tell me we're not brilliant. You hear me, right, Mark? What you think?
Totally. I mean, I was just thinking we lost one of the great pioneers, and I know that it's something that you two women who like to travel the world and have to travel up and down that New Jersey, New York area and all along those lines. But there's this great invention called the GPS and everything like that. And the woman that
Yes.
invented that was a sister, and she just recently passed and everything like that. So she was a woman that was involved in that. Gladys West, I believe, was her name, and everything like that. So definitely, that's just one of the many folks that are out there, just like we know about Hidden Figures that was involved with the Apollo and the whole space travel and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
the person that is actually sitting in the house, he's sitting in the house currently that was designed in a city by a brother and all along those lines. And I'm thinking about Benjamin Banneker because it
Yes.
was definitely he was involved
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
DC and in the creation of DC and everything like that. But we got this other person in his office, even though he might probably doesn't even know that Benjamin created the house that he lives in, and all along those lines. So definitely that's going on. And then we got architects like Julian Abel and folks like that were an architect here in this area. That was involved with Duke, both in creation of stuff in Black Wall Street, but also in stuff that was around Duke's campus and all along those lines. So, like I said, a lot of folks that folks don't think about, but they need to be thinking about because it is Black History Month. I just did a tour yesterday. That was actually where I'm at right now, the Haytide Heritage Center, and there was a group of ladies that came from one of our Parks and Recreation departments because they wanted to learn about the rich history, everything from Arthur Ashe to Edie and Markham and a number of other folks. So it was great having them come by and have that conversation.
Yes, and
That's
I think just to piggyback on that, I remember I was a Martin Luther King player in 8th grade, and what we did is every February we would perform at the State Theater in New Brunswick, and we did oral to speaking. What was always the highlight, one of the gentlemen would do the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech, and just hearing
Mhm.
that, the different renditions of the voices, and I had attended an event at one of the lodges in our town, and just to hear those pieces of what we went through, W.E.B. Du Bois, and it
Mhm.
just there was one that I says, "My people who we have forgotten, those people who worked in fields, those people who were hanged for their beliefs, my people who we have forgotten." My cousin did that oral speech, and that one always captivated me because now we're getting away from that, as we said, with our history. How did we get here? And I know Dr. Diamond, I thought it was befitting to say that because you always stress that. And I said, at one point, that was me. When I took my courses for electives, I took African American histories, African women histories, and those were the courses that I chose because I wanted to know more since I attended a Catholic school. But one thing I do know is that when it came to that month, the teachers did create material for me at St. Peter's, which no longer is there. We were Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, exit 9 in New Brunswick. My high school used to be there. My
mm-hmm.
elementary was there. But one thing about it was small, but the Diocese of Metuchen, it still exists. It's just that now folks are not paying for Catholic school. But they did honor our people, at least the teachers that I had. We had time where it was more so you had a handout or something like that. So what are the kids
Yeah.
doing now? That's a question. I'm curious.
Well,
Yeah,
you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm sorry, Mark, for cutting you off. It
that's
is
great.
very imperative that we teach our children the history because we need to teach them the right history. I feel like when you have, and no slight to some of the professors and the teachers that are not they don't look like us, but they teach our history. But what are you teaching me really? You know, my education with Black history actually came from my aunt, right? And she was the one that exposed me every time that we went to the museum. She said, yeah, that's nice that they have colonial stuff, but I'm going to take you to the exhibits that you need to actually focus on. And this is where I began my love for Black history, right? Mm-hmm. Because the exposure. So I feel that it is our duty to expose our children to the museums and the books and have them watch the documentaries, because those documentaries, you know, mean a lot and talk about our survival and the resiliency. So that's what I would say when it comes down to teaching. And Toya, that's good. Your teacher gave you that, but I know that you extended that out once you got out. You know what I'm saying? So yes,
I needed more of an addendum. You know, usually when you're in a course, if I pay for a course, basically that's the meat and potatoes. The addendum is extra stuff. So I felt, for me, I know I was most of the time the only colored person in some of the class because I was an honor student. However, it was still the point of they took time out, and then I had to do an extension. I believe my aunt, as you said, my aunt was the person that bought me my first book, Eyes on a Prize. And it's funny because there was a professor I had used the book and I could never get my books back. And my aunt bought those, and I took them to my college professor, you know, now that I'm thinking about it. And there was another one, and it was pictures. So one was the Eyes on the Prize, nose was sticker, but there was one, Martin Luther King had everything in it. And I had been looking for this book. But if I wouldn't have had that foundation to visually see everything, because, you know, going to the Jim Crow's South, Eyes on the Prize. And when I tell you just to put that book out there, and it was my first piece of African-American history. And from there, they sat on my shelf. And from there, that's when everything went the way it went. And I still reach back. There was a movie that we're talking, just for anyone that's watching, because my family is from the Jim Crow South. And it was called The Jazz Man's Blues, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I watched that, and that. So basically, The Jazz Man's Blues pretty much is a movie that I just recently watched. And from there, it made me think about what I was seeing when someone got lynched. And I remember my grandmother, may she rest in heaven, we would be going out, and she was like, you know, would grab me close. And the folks would be like, may I help you, ma'am? I never understood that. But I just, as I reflect as an adult, I understand why she kept me close. Because she's went in there, like, in other words, this is my child. And that's what it is. But I know that our family all lived on one road. So it didn't matter when you went to town, because when we were down, I looked down the street, the road, I see everybody else that I know. So that was a good thing. So I think that when you have seen it with your eyes, as you just stated, that's the reason why I just gave my little anecdotal, because it becomes real. When you read it in a book, it's not real. When you see it with your eyes, the little iron that we have at my house, the little iron that we have it sitting there, that's what they use. Because my grandmother cooked, she was a cook. So some of the recipes, she made it so that the Caucasians, it looked appealing. So that's a whole nother subject, but, you know, just because it's our first show in Black History Month. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, along those same lines, and since you are Dr. Diamond, an amazing lady, as is Toya, and I know the other ladies that will have joined us, hopefully. I know we got one in the studio, and hopefully the other one will be joining us as well. They're amazing as well. But, you know, giving you women props, one of the great speeches that I always love hearing, and all along those lines is from a great leader of the day. And of course, everybody knows Harriet Tubman, but sometimes people forget Sojourner Truth, who had that whole speech about Ain't I a Woman, and all along those lines. So that was definitely one of those powerful speeches where she was letting folks know that women that were sisters needed to have the same equal rights that other women were afforded as well. So that's definitely one of those powerful speeches. And if you haven't heard it, and I know that there's some people that have even heard the great actress Kerry Washington do a rendition of the speech and everything like that. So definitely she said that she was, she had plowed and reaped and done a lot of other work, but she was definitely a woman as well. So that was a very powerful speech, and definitely lets you know that there are some very powerful Black women out there.
That's powerful, because I think coming from a brother, that's important to us, because sometimes we feel so undervalued, especially because society makes us feel that way. But when our brothers support us like you're doing right now, it makes us stronger. It makes us say we are being seen. And to me, that matters more than our white counterparts that you said that. And that's just, I'm speaking from my point of view, so I think that's very important. Thank you, Mark, for that. That was awesome. So, I don't want to keep, having our guests waiting in the wings. She's so patient too. So, I'm excited about Nyree Bailey. I had an opportunity to join our co-host here, Toya, on the Butterfly Room, and that's where I met Nyree there, and it was just awesome just to hear her story. But I wanted her to tell more of her story, so I'm ready to bring her on. And she can begin to introduce herself, and we are going to welcome her on the couch. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Nyree Bailey, and let's bring her on. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Hey there.
Good to see you guys. Good morning. Happy Saturday. My name is Nyree Summer Bailey. I mean, it's so many things that I can say, but don't know how to say them. So, like, it's just like in my heart, like, I can tell you what I've been through, and I can say, oh, this is what happened to me, and da 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 da, da, and that's fine. But I would rather do you ask me what's going on with me, and then I can elaborate instead of just throwing it out there saying, "Oh, being conceited about it. Oh, this happens to me, so this needs to be fixed about me." And then that, no, I rather anything that you guys want to question about anything I went through. I will start with that. Everything I went through. So I went through cancer, and before that, I went to the hospital one night. It was just a random 2018 before COVID. It was just a random day, but I was having very violent like pains like on my right side of my stomach. So I get there. They was like, "Oh, it's simple. You have to take your gallbladder out." Okay. They said, "Oh, it's simple procedure. You'll probably have you overnight." Da, 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 da. They put me to sleep. I woke up 10 days later in a whole nother. I got on a helicopter, and never even got to experience the ride. He opened me up, put me down, and laid me down. And ever since then, I just been having more and more and more and more illnesses. Like my breast cancer. I went through my whole diagnosis by myself. I'm not saying I didn't have family. Yeah, I had family members here and there, but I went through my whole breast diagnosis. I kind of went through that by myself. I didn't kind of go by myself. I did it by myself. And then my family came, and everybody was there. But overall, all I can say is I'm a tough cookie, and yeah, and to anybody that's going through like illness or whatever going through, strong, 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 never feel weak, never give up. That's what pushed me through everything. I just kept saying to myself, I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler. And I'm brave. I'm strong. And I am not gonna let these doctors and these people and these Medicaid people and all of that, I'm not gonna let them keep putting me under the knife for their outcome, and that's what was happening in the beginning. So now March 4th, I'm going back under the knife. Not looking forward to it, but maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll help some of the illnesses that's going on with me. But yeah, but whatever you guys deny, close. Like, me and my sister Toya, like we are the closest. And me and her, we talk. Toya just then we talk. Like, there will be no me without her because, like, sometimes I just be needing advice. It could be the simplest thing. Let me tell you, she has it for you. It could be just something, just like, guess what? Toya Jason, she got it for you.
Well,
She
thank
can
you.
just, she
I wasn't expecting that because that's just what sisters are
Mhm.
supposed to do. And I
yeah,
love
we're a sister. I didn't know if you knew how we are sisters.
we share a brother, and that means that we're connected and we share a niece.
Hmm.
Yes. We
Yeah,
share a niece and we share two nephews. What are you
you
talking
know
about?
what I mean.
Don't
You know,
forget
Mhm.
my mom, don't disrespect my boys.
no, I'm not. We're trying to because we have the listeners here. We want to talk about you. You know, we were
Yeah.
Okay.
briefly,
All
you
right.
were at the
Okay.
show last week, and we weren't able to finish because of technical
Oh yeah,
difficulties.
it was my first time.
Right,
I was so nervous. So okay.
right.
Well,
So
we're
we're
gonna
on
make
part
you feel
two.
comfortable. We are.
Yeah.
We're gonna make you feel comfortable. So I'm glad that you led with ask me the questions. So I do have
Yes.
questions for you.
Hmm.
And that way you can feel more comfortable and you having a dialogue with us and you're sitting on that couch with us. Okay. So what
Right.
I do want to know is what was it like for you prior to your diagnosis? So tell me what your life was like before your diagnosis. And then the second part of that question is how did everything shift when you first heard the words you have breast cancer? So
Whew.
if you need me to ask you that question again, part one is
No.
what was your life like before your diagnosis?
Okay, so before my diagnosis, like, I was back at work. I've been doing hair my life. So what happens is, and I do like dietary, like I'm a sous chef. Like I'm a chef's assistant. So I've been working with these fingers all my life. So what happens is before my diagnosis, like I was fine. I was getting back on track and everything was fine. But I had this lump. Let me tell you something. Dr. Diamond, I had this lump in my breast for, I can say I'm 46 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
I can say I felt this thing in my breast, and I kept telling everybody, like, look, it's a little. They said, oh, it's just fatty tissue. It's just fatty tissue. That's all they kept saying to me. It's just fatty tissue. Then finally, we get up there. They finally say, like, they don't really give young ladies ultrasounds unless they feel like they need them or whatever. So finally, they gave me my ultrasound. I was already in stage 2.
Mm.
Stage 2 HER2 cancer. So not only did I go through, I got the lumpectomy. Then they took the lymph nodes from under my arm. My underarm still ain't right. And they gave me a full breast reduction because they had to take so much of the cancer out. They had to
Mm.
make both of my breasts even.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, like, the radiation and all of that now to keep the, because what happens is like I said, my reproductive system mutates my cancer cells. So that's why they give me lupin shots. So I take a lupin shot every 3 months
Yeah.
versus getting a full hysterectomy. Now they can take this back. They can take it. I mean, I'm 46, so I'm not having no kids. My goal in life now is to like do foster care and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm never gonna have my own kids. So take that baby out of there. But because these lupin shots, I just had one the day before yesterday, and my sister could tell you, I just been like overstimulated, just been down, just been like not confused. It weighs on me like I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm hurt. Leave me alone. I don't want to go with you. I don't want to talk to you. Everybody just leave me alone. And it is tribulating time for me and my family because like people in my life be like, not really. We're not trying to like No, I just don't want to be bothered at this point. So then when I want to be bothered, they don't want to be bothered with me. So it is pretty traumatizing.
But you are
I
a
don't think
fighter,
they
you're
understand
strong. And she's
So,
again modest. If you listen to the playback of the butterfly room part one. So this is a continuation, and
that.
just listening to how resilient she is. And I know that's something that we mentioned the last time, Dr. Diamond. She had the injection. I'm here with her. This is the first time that I'm physically with her. Um, and just watching, the changes with medications, and it goes to you, into your system. You don't know what's it going to do. And as
Mhm.
I hear more, she's sharing more here on this platform than she did, because it's a lot. And I can understand when you have multiple health issues and you're fighting for your life, people don't understand that. And thank you, Nyree, for sharing with the public that there's days that you want to be bothered and there's days you don't want to be bothered. So anyone else, you have to find your tribe. And, for me, as a person who is a cycle breaker, I had to figure out how to communicate. And sometimes the way you communicate is different, but having the wisdom to know the difference in what Nyree said, she was able to be vocal, because sometimes that positive self-talk is needed, because when you don't, you stuff it. I just remember kids mentoring kids stuffing behavior, and I'm doing pictograms of how they're feeling, to explain it. And the whole thing is, if you huff all that, that's what you can call cardiac issues, anxiety. And sometimes when people have empathy, empaths, which a lot of folks are, as you learn about yourself and you feel things. And what you think about, I was listening to Mary J. Blige, just to say that a soul singer, your
Mhm.
soul is very important. Anyone that sings the blues, if you ever listen to their tone, and I
Mhm.
remember some artists that they like your hair to stand up on your thing. So imagine you're in a sense of height, and it's not for music. It's because now your body is feeling emotion and you're misunderstood. So thank you,
Mhm.
Nyree, for sharing that piece of sometimes.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody
And
else? I mean,
yeah,
I
I had a question for both everybody here on the panel, because not only is it
okay.
Black History Month, but a week from today will be Valentine's Day, and all along those lines. But one of the things that we hear people talk about is the whole notion of, for those that are involved, whether it's in a marriage or whether it's in a single space and they're dating, the notion of being one with their spouse, or being unified, and all along those lines. And we oftentimes hear people talk about that whole notion of finding your twin, or the person that you've got a soul connection to, and all along those lines. But
Twin, where
and,
have you
yeah,
been?
yeah, the twin flames and all along those lines. But one of the
Nobody
things that we
loves
hear people,
you.
yeah, but one of the things that we hear people say within that is that, like if you get married, they talk about in sickness and in health. And I have not been married, but I know my brother has a few times, and my dad has at least been married once, even though he's had a lady love that he's been with even longer than he was with my mom and everything. But that being said,
Yeah.
sometimes people don't know how to cope with people when they are going through ailments. Because, like you said, you had a partial loss of the breast and everything like that. My friend who I had invited to come on the show, and hopefully she'll still make it, because I just sent her a message and everything along those
Thank
lines.
you, because that's a big question. Thank you.
But
I don't mean to
she
ask
actually lost
you want to
her
answer.
entirety. Like, she lost her whole. She went and did the full thing, if I remember correctly, and all
Mhm.
along those lines. So,
It's kind of
when that being
embarrassing to
such
say,
a
but
with that
I
being
feel
such a
you.
part of women's identity, how do you cope with that, and how do you deal with
Yeah.
that, even in relationship conversations? That's the question I've got to ask you, ladies.
Wait,
'Cause sometimes people don't know how to deal with it, and that's any ailment. It's not just breast
yeah.
cancer. It's also people that've got MS and cancer. Maybe they've lost a
Yeah.
leg. Maybe they've lost a limb or something else. I mean, a leg is a limb, but maybe they've lost another limb. But how do you cope with that, just in y'all's lives, as we were thinking about Valentine's Day? And there are people out there, including those that are happy.
Ladies, which one of y'all want to answer that question? Who want to answer
Well,
that
I think
question?
that's a good question though,
It
because
was.
as a woman, okay, I'm just going to speak as Black women, we tend to be a little harder on ourselves because of what has been put in front of us, which is the white woman's figure.
Mhm.
And we don't always take on, or we should be taking on to what we love about ourselves,
Right.
and that we are the model to what women to me what real women look like.
Mhm.
So when you lose something like your breast, or you have to cut it off or reduce it, you do go through something psychologically.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it can bother you because you're wondering why, why did this happen to me? Even if you gain weight, you begin to start thinking that way, because like even right now, women and men, we go through phases where we actually start looking different, right?
Right.
And I feel like, oh, right now I'm going through this premenopausal menopause, and you gain weight in your mid area. So
Mhm.
does that bother me? Yes, it does. But then I have to understand too that as a mature woman, you're going to start going through different changes. So again, it is a psychological thing that we go through. And if your mate is still with you and they're not making it a big deal about it, then I
Yeah.
think we
If
take
that
on,
man still loves me, what?
yes, that we need to take that on
Yeah.
and say, you know what? I do have the love and the support of the person that's with me. It's
Yep.
me that's
It's
Yep.
love
going
language.
psychologically. So that's my take on it. Nyree, what you think?
Absolutely. Like, I got kind of off topic when he started talking about, like, sexual activity and, getting older and, medical menopause and stuff like that. I totally embrace and I understand what he's saying. I'm just not in the mood. I'm just not feeling it. But sometime I'm gonna be there for you. We do thou do death was part. I do, I obey, I will make you feel like the best man that you are ever gonna be. But you still at the same time, you still have to understand and 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 realize that, ah, baby, just give me a chance. I don't have it right now. I don't have it in me right now.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, let me tell you something. When she wake back up, she all yours. But no, it happens. It really happens. It does happen. Especially me. They put me in medical menopause. I never in my life didn't know that. I did, and I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate. I can say what I want to say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying, even with my masturbation, I masturbate a lot. So even when I masturbate, it takes me so long. I just get so aggravated. I just throw the dawn rolls across the dawn. And then I gotta go get put it back. Yo, I get so aggravated. So I have lost my sex drive through. I mean, from
Mhm.
stuff like that. But and I ain't try. Sometimes I can get off. Nah, I'm lying. I ain't getting shit off lately. I ain't getting none off lately.
Well,
And it's
thank you for
stuff.
being honest, because you know what? I look at it like this. When you're unable to move physically and to be able to have your legs straight for 4 months. So imagine. So that's where you sit there and say, okay, do I know myself? But then you have to think,
Mm-hmm.
I always say it gets greater later. And there are other things that you can do. But when you're in a partnership and you take the vow of marriage, that's where
Yeah.
your love language comes in. What do you like?
Oh
What you
yeah, I
don't like?
forgot
You
the
have to
married
come to
part.
a
I'm
compromise.
not
And there are
married.
different things. And I think now sometimes the younger folks may even know more than us because they Google. And I think
Let
that's
me tell you.
things you
I
would bring.
think the kid, my little nephews and nieces, they be telling me stuff. I be trying to write stuff down, then I'm like, don't be listening to them.
Yeah, so they're well versed. So there's
Yeah,
things now.
kids.
Medicine is popping.
But
Anything that you need help with,
I'm
okay,
sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Mark.
No
Yeah, his
problem.
name's
Yeah.
Mark.
Mark, I'm sorry, Dr. Mark. You had pointed out, like, what is it like for us?
Mhm.
How can nobody can ever explain? No one woman can ever explain what their body goes through.
Right.
Like, even when I talk to, like, some of the women, at the infusion center, and she say, "Well, I'm going to do this," or she's going to do that, and then I got a couple older women that's like, "Oh, yo, they working it hard." Then I got these young ladies that they can't even, like, perform. So I don't know. I think it's just like it's just your body, your pedestrian, your libido. It's just your sex drive. It's just like I can't explain it, but I know right now I'm in no position to have a lover. I'm talking about a sexual lover. I'm in position like I want to have a sexual lover, like go out, eat, chill. I fill you up. I give you up. Yeah, but sexual, I just don't. I'm just not into it right now, and I don't even know if that was the question you asked.
It
But
wasn't
I
quite the
started running
question,
my mouth.
but it's all about learning and everything like that. So I know that's part of it. But I did have a question for your other career and all along those lines, because you mentioned earlier
Okay.
being a dietitian and then being involved in the food space and everything like that. And like I said, I do know
Yes.
people that have been in the whole notion of having gone through different things, whether it's breast cancer, whether it was MS, whether it was um, lymphoma, or whether it was a number of other diseases, including some other diseases that are women oriented
Well,
and all
one
along those
thing.
lines. But they sometimes had to change their diet and sometimes become more vegetarian based or more plant based, even though they say that's what we should all do anyway, become more plant and fruit based. But a lot of us like that, that chicken and that hog and a lot of other things that we eat here in the South and everything like that. But I was just wondering, how much did you wind up having to change your diet when you went through the medical
Good question.
complications that you went through?
Okay, so we're talking about my medical. We're talking about my medical gastric bypass, or what are we talking about?
Just in terms of
How
like,
did you
go ahead.
go ahead, Mark?
I'm just gonna say, how did you, when you had these different medical issues, how much did your diet change? Like because of the medical
Oh,
issues, what
okay,
did they
okay. Now I
recommend, and
hear what
how
you're
did you
saying
cope
because
with those diet changes? Because a lot
I
of
was
times
walking
with
through
your
the
own diet
house. I'm
change,
sorry. Okay, so what happens is it traumatically, honestly, traumatically, I'll go from like 215 pounds to 185 pounds. Now, being that, I just got out of the ICU, I had a central line in my neck. I laid there for 7 days at Robert Wood Hospital in New Brunswick. Now I'm home. I'm good. I'm having surgery March 4th. I'm about to get put down again. But they had me on intravenous, intravenous, steroids plus oral steroids. And it's just my up and down, my weight just go up and down. But I have been so big in my life when I was younger. My weight don't scare me because I'm never that big. I have never been as big as I was when I was younger. Not that I'm saying I had a problem about my weight when I was younger, because I love myself. I was absolutely amazing. I was like the hottest fat chick in Plainfield. You can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes tools. It takes tools. It does.
So I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
This is related to, just advocacy for yourself, because
Mhm.
Yes.
in the medical world, it's very hard that people take Black women or Black people in general seriously. So I'm
Hmm.
curious about, how did you advocate for yourself within the medical system to get them to take you seriously about what you were feeling for all of those months?
Yes. So yeah. It took me to, like you said, I had to advocate for myself. I had to call people. I had to call Medicaid. I had to call and let them know that this needs to happen to me. I had to call and say, "Oh, you're not gonna leave me in the dark." When I went through AFib, I had to call and said, "No, I need life alert." I am no joke. When I started getting heavier, they said they wasn't gonna give me an Ozempic. Oh no, the fuck, yes you are. So what happens is I advocated for myself because of my mouth. I just can't shut the hell up. And then, once I get in touch with the people that I need to get in touch with, Okay, I got him. Let's
Mhm.
talk about this. This is what I need. My doctor already filled this paper out. My doctor is telling you that I'm in need in this and I'm in need in that, and you think you're gonna ignore me? You know. And we have to do this fast because I don't know if y'all down with homeboy or anything, but homeboy about to say everything from us.
Mhm.
And that's a,
Mhm.
a good point that, when it comes down to bargaining for healthcare, a doctor will make a recommendation, but it's still the insurance company that makes the approval. So this is an
Right.
example of how it depends on this tier. If you have a traditional plan versus Medicaid, Medicare, there's a lot of seniors that I have worked with over the years. And for Medicare, they only pay 80/20. So if you don't have a supplemental, that's where some folks, by paying a supplemental, they are supposed to get a copay. But when you think about it, they're paying now that I believe it's like almost $190 a month that you're paying for the Medicare premium. Okay,
Yeah,
now
but not even that's
right, let
so
me just a second. Yes,
expensive.
let me finish this point, Nari, please.
I'm
And so
sorry.
what happens now? You have a person that's forced for food because now I have to go to the doctor, and now there's no charity care or whatever they may have. Now I have a bill. Now I have a lien on my house, possibly because you're unable to pay the 20%. But all we know is, and this is where the education comes in. So on the couch, what we're telling you is, for those who don't know, when you retire, you have to wait 2 years, 24 months before you get your Medicare kicks in. During that time, when you're doing planning, you need to know what to do. Then once you get on after the 2 years, the 24-month period, then there's an 80/20. The 20% you need a traditional plan. Now, if you have a job that has a pension, you can roll it over. So what happens is you have your Medicare and you have the one through your job. But what I have seen, the folks that now that I have served over the years, they don't have that. Then that's when they go into the hospitals and they're unable to get the care because they have to wait for those 2 years. So if I worked, why do I have to wait 24 months to get my insurance? Now, if you're on disability, that's a different disability retirement. You don't have to wait. But these are the things that you need to look in with your healthcare provider. I know
Yeah,
some
and
flack
I don't mean to cut you off, but
for
whenever you're ready.
yes. So right now, we just want to give you that tidbit. We always want to give you tools. So right now, just
No,
research
you
the
gave me the
plan.
tidbit. You gave me the tidbit. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yes, and I'm trying to
You
finish.
gave me the tidbit. So you told
Please.
me about I'm sorry. You told me about with the social security and they can let somebody lose a left eye and still won't get social. What can I do to be more prosperous and be more, like, should I call a lawyer? They
Okay,
saying if
I'll
you call
explain that.
lawyers and stuff, that'll be
That's
a
a great question,
problem.
Nyree. So in my
Yeah.
career in the mental health field, working at a mental health center. So what happened? One of the charges that I had, because I was the mental health clinician in that
Mhm.
position, what happens is you have to go to the doctors, because what happens is when you go to apply for Social Security, you need a paper trail. A lot of times, if people in the Black and brown communities, they don't want to be seen because when you go to a mental health professional, it's a problem. However, when you have an actual break, then you need that information. There's encounters. And then also what I would suggest, after you leave those facilities, ask them to print your paperwork. Because what if that mental health facility disappears? I had the charge of actually have to go.
No, you're right. I keep my PDFs and everything, but yeah, I need to have printouts.
Yes, because this is what happens. I had a person that had a history, but there was a gap. So that particular facility was no longer there. So there was somebody else that had everything. So imagine you're going to apply for Social Security. You worked, you didn't have a work history, and then you have to have 40 quarters. There's 4 quarters in a year, which equals 10. So from there, I had to educate folks about their history. So again, you're correct, Nyree. If you're working off the books, you need to work on the books, pay a tax return, because that's how you pay into the system. And if you don't pay into the system, all you're going to get is SSI. And right now, that is under $1,000 a month. So that's where you become the working poor, where when you were actually working, you were not poor. You were feeding into the system to pay for the people who are currently need to receive the benefits. So that's how the paradigm is. So just for anyone, if you are working, look and see what your position is and see what supplemental plans you have. Because imagine you're paying almost $190 a month. Then you're paying, I have a one person senior that I work with, she's paying like $160 for her Aetna. You see how much that is? Then you have to go to the doctor. Then you have your prescriptions. Then you have your car share.
Yeah, and then they have to pay a
So,
copay for their prescriptions. Meanwhile, excuse my language. Meanwhile, everybody out here on Medicaid and getting everything for free.
well,
This
not
woman worked all her
actually.
life,
Well, I have
and now she can't get you her prescription like for free, and
well,
then
what
they're
this,
giving everybody else prescriptions for free. I don't understand it.
because that
Well,
was
you know
something the
this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Toya.
way the government was set up. So one of the things, just to let you
Yeah.
know, I with one of my clients, because I still work in the field, Medicaid is no longer paying for certain over-the-counter prescriptions, OTCs, because there's a Dollar Tree. So they used to pay for Tylenol and different things. So now they want you to get your money and go there. So actually, before your doctor prescribes anything, ask them to check, because I've seen situations where a consumer would come home to our group homes and that has to pay out of their money. So you would think that certain things you can get over the
Yeah,
counter
well, these people
cheaper than
they getting Ozempic, they getting this, they getting that, they getting everything. Whereas them people that worked all their lives, they retired and all that, they got their pension, they can't even get approved for like nothing, and that's pretty sad.
Well, what happens with that when you're talking about like estate planning or something like that? What happens is if a person goes into a nursing home, and I've seen this in situations where I worked for social services, and a person comes in, it's community Medicaid. So what happens? You have institution and community Medicaid. My mom, T, actually still works for social services. So what they do is a spin down. So that's where some people are the Black and brown communities. We have all our stuff. What other people, what they do is they transfer those resources to their children. So by the time they're ready to retire, they don't have anything. And that's how our taxpayer dollars pay for theirs. We just are honest and too proud. I'm sorry to say,
Yeah.
but we don't do the estate.
You're right. You said we're too proud and we honest to go out there and be picking in and be screaming and crying like I need this. I wrote, yeah. We're proud and we have too much. We're earnest, but at the same time, yeah. Where's Doctor? I'm
Well,
sorry.
Mark,
Mark,
without Mark,
he'll
the
be back.
producer.
Yeah, he'll
Uh,
be back right back. He's always on double duty. So
Yep.
I have another question for you because I want to kind of
okay.
bring it back to you. But that was a
Okay.
good question about the Medicaid. So what
Okay.
does healing look like for you? What does that look like?
Healing, like
Uh-huh.
my body healing
Your
right now.
mind, your body, and your spirit. All three.
Okay. My body and my spirit is not up to par. Not only am I scared because I'm going back into surgery on March 4th. When they took me down to check out what's going down there for the surgery on March 4th, I went into AFib. I was in ICU for 6 days. Breathing tube it when they take the tube down. I couldn't even get out of that bed. I got these young ladies like pulling me over and I mean, it's just what happens is I am still going through turmoil and it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. But like you said, my resilience, I am like, oh, I'm a tough cookie. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
And that's
I'm a
good.
rocker. I'm a rock with the best of them. I'm not scared. I am scared. I have to like my PTSD is like my anxiety is like me and my sister we home together whatever, but it be days where I'm home by myself because I live alone.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I feel like my heart skips a beat or I just don't feel good or I feel weak, I think something is happening to me. So then I panic. Then life alert. So then I be at the hospital all the time. Life alert.
Mm-hmm. So, Nyree, let me ask you this, or well, before I ask you this question, I think I would like to do is definitely give you a recommendation, and I think Toya will go in the same direction that I'm going in. When
Okay.
I'm thinking about you going through all of these medical issues, as you alluded to earlier when we were talking, we came on earlier,
Yeah.
the things that you've gone through in your body, breast cancer to other experiences that you've had, along with your body going through the process of healing, because these medical doctors should be helping you heal. You yourself should be doing that. But I would
Yeah.
love for you mentally, that you need to take care of yourself mentally. I think I heard you say the trauma. To me, you do have medical trauma, right? Along with whatever, I don't know if you've experienced other life traumas. I'm not sure, because I didn't ask, that wasn't a question about your life per se with that.
Right.
But if
Right.
you have experienced those things, all of us as Black people, we go through complex trauma. And what happens is it keeps building and building and building. And then these fears begin to happen. So what you're saying, PTSD, I totally get why you would have that. Because for one, cancer can wipe you out of here. So that is you scared to death, like, what is going to happen to me next? Also, surgical procedures, you have to get your mind right for that, because you're like, okay, what are these people going to do? Are they going to help me? So you're going to go through all of these things. So what I'm saying to you and recommending to you is that, yes, you have Medicaid or whatever insurance you have, and anyone that's listening to us right now on the couch, whatever you have, please go and get yourself that type of help as well, because it can be the smallest medical thing you can go through and don't know why you're here in this part of your life. So that's what I would recommend. That I think you need that therapeutic discussion and healing that will couple with what you're going through right now. And I think your healing process overall will really marry each other, and then you begin to feel aligned again, where you won't feel like your body is out of place and your mind is this way, where you can bring it back together. So that's
That's
my
a.
piece. I would love to hear your feedback.
I'm sorry, not to interrupt you, Dr. Diamond. You're beautiful, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying not to like be in the house and think, oh, I'm going to go into AFib, or
Right.
I'm in my house by myself. Something's going to happen to me. So it is a scary situation, and I've been trying. On my own. So I have been working with my social not social security, my medical, my medical people, and they've
Your
been trying to
medical
like,
team.
yeah, my medical team and my medical navigator, and they have been trying their best to do the best for me. And all I have to do is just have faith, chill back, or relax, and calm the hell down, and everything's gonna be fine.
Hey,
Yes,
Nyree, one of
and
the best
and
things
from
you can
here
do
saying
is
this.
self-care
Oh,
and all along those lines. And I know we've talked about
Yeah.
it on this show and other shows as
Yes.
well. So I was just wondering, what do you do for your own self-care and everything like that? It's like some people read books, some people are avid movie
Oh,
watchers, some people are into athletics, or even like us, we have talked on this show that I sometimes enjoy
mm,
hearing the birds
no.
or going out for a walk
Yeah,
for
I know what
nature.
you mean.
So what do
Well,
you
I
do
I
for
am
self-care?
I work with my hands. Like, for instance, Toya, she brought me or my journals. She knows I like to write, and I sew, and I crochet. Like, I make my own little hats, and I just that those are things that like take me away for a minute. Just take me away. I don't even know what I be writing. I be waking up the next day and I be reading what I wrote, and I be like, yo, that's how I was feeling. So yeah, they say like that's what I do to get away. Because I don't leave the house. I go grocery shopping. I go clothes shopping because it's got to look present. And then I go get my nails done, or I go to the grocery store. I go to the doctor's. That's it. That's it. That's all I do.
But I wanted to thank you, Nyree. I wanted to piggyback, Mark. What I was trying to say is that thank you for sharing with the audience about a navigator. Because what happens is if you don't have a mental health professional or someone, a case manager, you need a navigator. Because what happens is once you have a condition, all these different folks are maybe sending you or telling you what to do, but sometimes that can overwhelm you. And then you end up going down that path. So usually I like how my team is, they'll say, okay, that's not a precedence. We're going to continue to watch. So anyone listening, everything needs to be listed down, because if you don't have someone that's like a navigator, not everyone is speaking with each other. You want a team medically, because if you have this specialist all the way outside, he may miss a medication because he's not talking to the others. And also, as we have said here on the couch, second opinions. Don't always take someone's gospel. I believe that Dr. Diamond and I, we have understand, because we were probably going to be in the hospital working. And I was in a nursing program for a BSN. However, life happened and I had a child. So I think that sometimes our paths are to our purpose are laid out. So that's why we can speak about a medical, because we worked in the medical field, anatomy and physiology, biology. We talked about today with my niece about the Petri dish. So sometimes we may have multiple talents, or some people they research. And if you want to know, you research. Don't Google, get a book. Talk to the doctor. You have to vet that, because there's sometimes even on social media, I'll see something and it's not true. And this AI is freaking me out. Just to let me know about that.
This AI is freaking me out.
Yeah. Someone's photo and it's not good. But just basically take the time to look. Because one last thing I'm going to say is prognosis. I've had several prognoses, and I know you have. 3 years, 5 years, I'm still here. So what happens is that means you and I and anyone that's listening has done the homework. If they prescribe you a medication, you take your medication, because sometimes, as we know, that the medication is only addressing the symptoms, slowing down. So if you choose life, if anyone here is choosing life, you follow the prescription. Because if you don't, that's where people have the secondary elements. And we know, Nyree, as a survivor of all of this, and your resilience and your perseverance. And thank you for your candor today, because I know you just had this injection. And I'm just
yeah, I have
now
I don't know if they
understand
knew
what you
that.
mean by that, because you said it makes you loopy. It makes you feel
I am completely confused. I woke up to grab my tea and I ended up doing something. It confuses me. So what happens, I get lupin shots every 3 months. So now that I had it yesterday, the day before yesterday, my body is just like, my equilibrium is off. Like I'm overstimulated. It's I just go through so much for a couple of days, like after chemo, like when you first get your chemo, they give it to you. They give you the steroids, so it'll kind of keep you, But once the steroids roll off, then your body is just stuck to the bed, and you got neuropathy, your legs don't work, your head don't work, you can't walk to the bathroom, you can't put nothing down, you're vomiting, you're sick, you're tired, you can't even though you want to get up to grab some fresh air, you can't. So the luprin ain't no joke either. So every time I get my lupin shots, I got to do it every 3 months now. I'm just weak. I mean, me and my sister and my niece, we had a good time last night, just watching TV and doing each other hair, had a little play date, but I feel like crap right now, but I am
But thank you for showing up. Thank you.
Pushing.
Because I did not know, and this is Dr. Diamond, my first time I'm this close.
I'm pushing.
So I just know
I don't know. Do anybody know about cancer? Do Dr. Diamond, do you know?
I have not experienced it myself, but I have family members that actually have experienced it and did not survive it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, I thank you for acknowledging that. And it is a tough thing to watch, though. It is a very tough thing. I know that at least for my son's grandmother, she fought it for 20 years. She
Yeah.
did. She fought it for 20 years. So you could definitely say from her first diagnosis, she was a survivor of it. She battled back. I mean, I can remember going with her and running on the track because she was getting herself in shape. She had stopped drinking beer. She
Yeah.
changed the way she ate. And then her
Everything,
survival was
everything
stronger.
she can do to try to get herself better, but
Yeah. She ended up,
once
yeah,
those cancer cells started to
yeah.
form, like, whew,
But part of
They
it,
just come
Nyree,
back.
is
Yeah.
part of it, Nyree, is having that positive attitude. I think that I've shared on this
Yeah.
show that my brother
yes,
has a
I do
testimony
have a
on
very positive
Facebook about what
attitude.
he's gone through because my younger brother is a MS survivor. He's had MS and was diagnosed years ago, and all along those
Yes,
lines. Ironically, my
he's
aunt
amazing.
has lived to your point, Dr. Diamond. She lived with that same ailment for about I want to say 20 or 25 years because she retired eventually from the school system in New Jersey, where she was a had been a teacher and I believe a principal in Sparta, New Jersey, which is like the rural part of New Jersey, and then she'd also had some work in Richmond and everything along those lines. And then several years back, she passed away, but she had MS for about yeah, I want to say it was about 20, 25 years that she lived with that diagnosis and everything. And then
Oh, no,
the
that's
medicine has gotten even
painful.
better now. So I'm hoping that my brother will be able to live another 30 or 40 years, even though he was diagnosed about
He
uh,
will.
I think it was during the pandemic, so I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago that he was diagnosed and everything like that. So, and definitely you see, because even to Dr. Diamond's point, we see people that go through stuff and everything like that. But I've always been a believer in positive attitudes. I have a friend that passed away not that long ago that created one of our nonprofits, but she had a death diagnosis, meaning that she had a terminal illness, but she has passed away. But she always believed that she would have a positive attitude until that last day. And that's one of the things that I admired about that particular woman is that she had a positive attitude all the way up until the last day. And she felt that every day was a gift, but she did live much longer than she was expected to live. Because I think that she had been told that she would have like maybe a couple of months to live, and she wound up living about 4 or 5 years past that diagnosis.
Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
And
want to tell
Irene,
a
you're
story as well
amazing.
about. Oh, I was going to
Yeah.
tell a story if you mind, since you mentioned as far as dealing with. So a personal story is a family that runs on both sides of my family breast cancer. So I've had two scares. However, again, the other one they're going to watch it, and I'm faithful that it's going to do what it needs to do, and he directs my path. But I had a family member who died at 39, and it comes to the point where some people may not go through something, and it spread to her bone marrow. This is the first time I saw someone pass. We were allowed the nursing home calls because that's what ends up happening because she was unable to walk. So yeah, the cancer had went through her again to her bone marrow. So as she was laying there, and just to see and the solace of everyone there to say their goodbyes is to a point of when a person, as they say, they see the light and they just embrace everything. So in that point, I said, you know what, that little thing, just going for that visit when we may not want to, could be the answer. So that's where I said with my multiple things, I knew that it runs. And now again, my mom T that's up here, she just had another biopsy. So when I look at that, you have to follow and do your homework even when you don't want to. So I said, since I've lost a mother at a young age, I have one son who is my legacy. And he said to me, Mom, if something happens to you, I don't know what I would do. And ironically, today he's 25. So I always push because my mom was 24. So I think that sharing these stories and hearing us on the couch and other platforms, not to plug the butterfly room, but this is what we have said every week. We're going to give you something. So when I post again, when I go daily, is for the folks that I've worked with. Again, as I said on my show, you need motivation, you need positive self-talk so that you can get through that when you're having a bad day, because sometimes things can trigger you. If you have PTSD, as Nyree said, she went into AFib. So imagine you going through something traumatic, and now here it is again. So now you don't know what it's going to be. But those who are believers, that's where your faith comes in. I know that for some people in groups, we would say that you don't believe in a higher power, who do you feel is your glue, right? Who is your glue? That glue could be your children, it could be your family. It could be the person that raised you, or it could be whoever is the champion in your life. And sometimes we need that. And I think Nyree for being very open about how I take this seriously, because for someone to have cancer cut out of their body on multiple occasions, precancerous material, and I'm still here. So from there, that means that maybe sometimes you're just a story in this thing. And I thank you, Dr. Diamond, for allowing us to have this issue discussed today. Because sometimes I say issue because it's not your reality. It's an issue that can be addressed. When you don't use certain words, it can make it more so. You know, I don't know if you guys believe that, but that's what I believe. When they say, do you feel that the glass is half full or half empty? Are you optimistic or pessimistic? So here, yes, I did that. I count the W's, wins. People say, I got a W today. What do you mean? When you play sports, I was competitive, sports, cheering, whatever. The point is, it's a W, it's a win. So Nyree, you have several wins. And today, by you sharing that, folks who may not have thought, look what you're going through. Now you're going to have another GI surgery. But the point is, you choose, because you and I made a commitment to our brother's children. So that's what I want to basically say. That so the resilience that you have, and anyone listening, is because you have a purpose, a goal. And if you don't have something to attain, I've seen folks, if they don't have that goal, then that grief process will turn into something where they say, do you see the light?
It kind of give me migraines just thinking about it. Like, but overall, we gonna get through all of this. Everybody's gonna be strong. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna get through my surgery, and then after the surgery, we're gonna get through to the kids, and you know, I'm gonna be a foster mother, so I'm looking forward to that. And then, you know, things are just gonna things are looking up.
Yes, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes you may not be the traditional family, right? Dr. Diamond may not be, but there are children out there that are looking for a mom. And I thank you for sharing that publicly,
I
because
think
that's
that's awesome.
awesome.
No,
That gives you
foster
something to
care.
look forward to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, foster care is a very vital thing and very important. My brother,
Yeah.
who I
It
mentioned
is
earlier,
important.
been involved in foster care, and he's actually done that with some of his past people and all along those lines. So yeah, foster care is a important step in life and all along those lines, because I definitely believe in the whole notion of fostering and adopting and all along those lines. As I've gotten older, you know, in that almost mid 60s range and everything like that. I'm not saying it can't happen, because daggone Mick Jagger had kids and everything like that, but the chance of me having kids at 60s or 70s probably dim to none and all along those lines. But that being said, I have thought about doing fostering and even some of the mentoring programs, because a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
mentoring programs need strong male and female advocates for those kids and everything like that. So I've been in the board of Proud in the past, and my brother has worked on mentoring programs, and other people I know are in the mentoring space. So even if you can't have a kid in your own house as a foster or an adopted kid, definitely look into some of the mentoring programs. Even some of the things we do here at the Cultural Arts Center are
Right.
mentoring, where we're mentoring them through dance and the arts and things along those lines, or poetry, or some of the other creative fields. So think about mentoring.
Yeah, I think that's great that she is trying to enter into the foster care system to support children out there that would need a place, uh, someone to show them love and care, and just to welcome someone in your home. You know, it could do something for her and do something for them. Or even if it's just one child she's getting in a home, it's just that, you know, it's a good thing that she's entering that world of what does that look like, because that can be a strange place to go, because this is someone else's child. And most of the children in foster care, not saying all children have the mental health issues, because a lot of them don't, but some of them, large number of them do, because of possibly the circumstances that they're coming out of. But the truth be told is, I think if you have the patience with them and they see that you care about them, they begin to start changing right in front of you, because it's a trust thing for them. They begin not to trust people because of their experiences. So, you know, I hope she does well when she does go into that foster care system. So Mark, thank you for bringing that up too, that that's very important that we do that. And I wish a lot of us enter that world of what does that look like to give somebody a chance.
Yeah,
And
definitely have to
Nyree,
do
we
that.
just lost
And like I
a
said
second.
to her, and I would say
Mhm.
to anybody, you have to be involved in things that make you have good peace of mind, whether that's, like I said, a walk in nature, whether that's reading a good book, whether that's looking at some visual art, or whatever it is that gives you peace of mind and everything like that. That whole peace of mind is very important, and it's all part of the whole wellness picture, because the wellness picture isn't just our physical health, but also our mental health and some of the other health that we have as well. So definitely keep that in mind, because this is all stuff that is important for us to do, is to find ways to feed our mental growth, our spiritual growth, because spiritual growth is important as well, and also our emotional growth and our physical growth. And a lot of that emotional growth is through some of the things that we can do. I mean, even the aroma of a good cooked meal can be something that can
Mhm.
help that growth and everything along those lines. So I would keep that in mind and everything like that. I did check my Facebook and all along those lines. I have not. I did send her the link on yesterday afternoon, but it doesn't look like she's been active in the last hours or something like that.
Mm.
So we might have to get her back on another time.
Yes.
We need Miss Allen.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank
All
you for
along
that,
those
Mark.
lines.
And this is, a good thing, because I think that we've all seen in our own I say careers. And I look at it because when I was working in a mental health center, I worked with, again, the probationers and the parolees. But now when you're out in the world and you wonder why, there was a history. And in that case, they're mandated. Then you have folks that come in through DIFUS. Why are they here? Because there are things that folks go through, they suffer in silence. And now this is where now, in the early 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have these platforms. It was more so dictated based on mandation. Now folks have a place to go. And I freelance. I always keep my CADC active. And that's when I really, really get to see what's going on. Because now look at ICE. There, I was in the area, the local high school down the street. They were all standing outside. And I said, what's going on? The person, I was in a car with a friend. She said, I'm wondering, I hope ICE is not going to the school. So
Yeah.
why in the middle of the day, it's cold outside, as you know, why are the children of the high school outside? Did they come? I don't know. So I'm waiting. But that's
No,
something
they have
that we never
targeted
would
some
talk
schools.
like this before. We never talked like this before. When you see vans and you see officers, what is it? That causes a traumatic experience. So imagine that encompassed with different events in your life. Now you have a health issue. That means you're going to be fearful. But as we know, I was talking to someone. I remember the movie After Earth with Will Smith and his son. Sometimes we're fearful of something and it hasn't even happened. And that's where we have to think your reality. You have experience walking through the door and something happening to you, as Nyree had expressed. So then that is in my memory. Someone who's lost someone, that's a memory. Someone who was sick. My mother went to the hospital, never came back out. And I thought about that, Dr. Diamond. When you said that, that hit a nerve because I didn't realize it. But then the local church that I know, and I said, wow, that pastor prayed over my mother, and I have a connection there. So sometimes it comes full circle that our life is predestined and we don't know. Sometimes it's for anyone that's a believer, and the woman with the issue of blood. We heard that story. The woman with the issue of blood was the person that was there to touch Jesus's garment. And so there's different things that we don't understand, but you always say history repeats itself. So what if in our day that person symbolizes a person with an illness or someone who is sick, and they reached out to a higher power and they're healed, or because actually they became optimistic versus pessimistic and they went and they did something? Belief. And I feel
Mhm.
that right now we have to look at that when you are moving through this world and trying to figure out what you're doing. And I just know I've witnessed people heal themselves. I've
Mhm.
witnessed people in the ICU come out, and I have witnessed folks, even a family member who was in hospice and came home.
Yeah.
So that's really what that is. And today,
Yeah.
again, on the couch, the survivor stories, hearing someone, and we hope to see your friend, because I would love to hear her story as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll hopefully do that and everything along those lines. But just to your point, Toy, they say that the nonprofit KFS estimates that 1 in 4, or 19 million children in the U.S. have an immigrant parent. So that is one in
So,
four have an immigrant parent, and all along those lines. So
mhm.
that is the reason that a lot of the schools are having their kids not go to school and everything like that, because
Mhm.
ICE will target them and everything along those lines. So definitely there are some people on those agencies that claim that that's not what they're doing. But from what I've heard, they are targeting some of the schools, and some of the schools are actually doing protests. They've done that here in North Carolina, and some of that protest is sitting out because they don't want their kids to get caught in the crossfire. And they even talked about the mental health impact of what.
Thank you, Mark, for giving us confirmation. So it's happening. So just pay attention, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. It's going on. Another, I want to go back to just generally the health. So remember, it is Cardiac Awareness Health Month. So make sure, go red. If you need to go get your heart checked, please go and do that. Please don't forget about that. If you are a person that have had family members in your life that may have had cardiac problems, remember there are certain things that go through your DNA coding. So don't forget about that. Just because it may have skipped you for now, just go get yourself checked out. So please, I encourage that you go and get these physicals. And as Nyree talked about earlier, advocating, advocate for yourself. She didn't give up and say, you know what? I'm going to ignore that lump. No, she kept saying, no, something is wrong. So, it's good that she was able to speak to other people. And then she thought about it more herself and just said, no, I'm not going to stop until I get the help. So that is everything in your body. If you feel your heart is not beating correctly, go and get your heart checked out. Find yourself a doctor that will actually sit with you and talk to you. Because remember, yes, they have gone to school, but you are the expert of yourself, and you're going to have to get them to listen. And you don't necessarily have to deal with that doctor if that doctor is not seeing you as a human being. And I'm talking about Black and Brown community now. History, as Toya said, repeats itself. Yes, it does. Look at what we're going through now. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, but I would love to talk about this until almost the end of the show, which will end today about 12:30. I'm going to shift a little bit gear here about history repeating itself. The Obamas was the subject of attack by the person that's sitting in that White House. He had a meme out there coupled with whatever comment he had, and he was calling them monkeys. So again, white folks out here, not all, some of them still believe that we're not human beings. And that is history repeating itself. And I think, and maybe this is too far-fetched, but this is Black History Month. Why wouldn't he do something so idiotic in this month, where this is all the month that we get, which is not even one of the longest months, it's the shortest month in the year, but to go out of his way to do that. But I really believe, and please, I'd love to hear your feedback, both of you, on this. I feel like he's obsessed with Obama. He's obsessed with this man because he's a cool Black dude. This man is well put together. He has a wife. He has a family. You never heard anything about his family that was derogatory the entire time he was in the White House to the time they left out of the White House. Do you hear anything about his daughters doing anything negative? No. These two young ladies went to college. They got themselves together. They're doing things in their career, what they're doing. And I tell you, they raised some good girls, because those girls are out here as young grown women doing some great things. So I just think the man is obsessed. And to do that was horrendous. I think he's an idiot. I also think he's a child. And when someone doesn't do the things he wants, he just stomps his feet and punches his hands on the ground. But that's just my perspective. What do you two think?
I agree. I agree. And the only reason why, because, you hear things, and sometimes with the AI, we don't know what's true, what's false, what's fiction. But I do know that if he is, with the words are saying that he wants to get rid of we can only do 2 terms. So that's 8 years. So I don't understand with history, you all learned it, and you changing these laws. Because that's the case. I believe Obama could have been someone that could have stayed in the office. And then even now, just helping people with financial planning, there's certain laws that were passed during his administration that they're getting rid of. And I don't understand, in my first time as being a taxpayer now, how can laws that we voted on years ago, before my time, created during our time, that they can be relooked? And I just know that we do have a voice. And I feel that if he can have it his way, he can stay in the White House forever. That's what they're trying to say. And I don't want to, put it out there because I don't want to agree with those things. But what is the purpose if they say that a president can only serve 2 terms? 2 terms is 2 terms. Because that would change our whole existence. Because there were other presidents that probably could have stayed longer. You know how you have a mayor? A mayor could be in the town forever, but there was a law of 2 terms. 4 plus 4 is 8, right? After that, you're done. So I don't understand why that rabbit hole keeps getting addressed. So I just feel Obama was the person that would have been greater than him, just listening to the folks. And I think he did a lot of justice for us. So you have to think, if he's saying make America great again, that is something that he says. And for me, looking at the finances as being great for the wealthy and not the working poor.
Yeah, well, he's trying to change the law back to what it was, and it actually hasn't been in the business for about 100, for less than 100 years, and everything like that, because it's the 22nd Amendment that was ratified in 1951, so it was ratified 10 years before or a little bit more than 10 years before the Civil Rights Act and everything like that, because we did have a president that had 4 terms and everything like that. That was FDR. And all along those lines, so there were some predecessors that had that term limit, and they definitely put a term
Right.
limit
Like
on
once
it.
it's established, right, Mark? Once you establish
Once you
something,
establish
right?
it, then it has to be it has to be repealed, and they would have to take that to Congress and everything like that. But the man does want to be an emperor. That's really what he wants. He wants to be
Well, thank you for
an
saying
American
that.
version of Putin, and all along those lines. He does a lot of crazy things, and all in that space. I'm really hoping that and even though I think it probably went in one ear and out the other, but if he was listening and everything. But I hope that he listened to the Olympics, because this is the Winter Olympics that are going on. That's the other major event in addition to the Super Bowl that is taking place this week. Is going on for 2 weeks. We've actually got a sister that's going to be probably a champion in speed skating, because she was the flag bearer and all along those lines, and so she'll probably win that medal because it looks like she's very good and all in that space. But if you listen, the new Olympic chief is from one of the African nations. I don't know which one it is, but she actually quoted Ubuntu, which is a phrase that is a Swahili term, if I remember correctly. It is, and it is "I am because we are," which is basically trying to get us all to understand the unity that we all have and everything like that. And Charlize Theron, the actress, actually quoted Nelson Mandela and his peace talks and everything like that. So the theme this year is supposed to be peace, because there's a lot of conflicts in the world and everything like that. And that has actually been the theme of the Olympics many years, including when Dr. Leroy Walker was involved before he passed away. And he was an African American that was here from Durham, North Carolina, and also an Olympic hero, and all in that space and everything like that. He was part of the Olympic Committee for a number of years. Actually, I think he might have even headed the Olympic Committee, if I remember correctly, and all along those lines. But that being said, I just hope that he would listen to this notion of peace, because right now he's like a train out of control, and he's doing all kinds of stupid things. And definitely, we the people can make them pay the price in the midterms, because the midterms is this year, 2026. So it's very important that we get out there and support people that are less than MAGA and are actually doing some positive things.
Yeah. So I have a few things too. The monks, they are walking for peace. They have been through Virginia already, so they should be making their way to DC. I believe that is their last stop of where they're going to be going. So hurrah to the monks who went out there, and they're walking for peace. So Mark, yes, peace, peace, peace. As far as these amendments and the Declaration of Independence and when it was written, we have to also keep in mind that it was never written for the Native Americans or the Africans who were transported here or human traffic over here, and also the Black people that already lived here, because we cannot exclude the ones that were already living here, because there were Africans that already explored the world and they lived everywhere, and they just, so I don't want people to
Nomads, I guess.
The fact,
Nomads, I think.
that's right. We don't want to exclude the fact that there were Black folks that went all over, and that was their job. They knew what they had to do, and that was to spread across the world so we could have more and more people. However, when these rules were written, we have to remember too, the people that got over here were the ones that decided we want to break away from Europe. And that's what they did. And when they came over here and then they began to figure out, hey, you know, there are some people that they wanted to buy into what the other Europeans were doing, and that was the Spaniards. And the Portuguese were the one, if you know the history of slavery, they started it, you know, and, you know, they began to do things that they looked at Black people as less than, but they forgot the Moors were more than. The Moors were the one that educated the Europeans because they were the one living in their homes and throwing things out of the windows, excrements out of the window, and not even washing their bodies or brushing their teeth. The Moors came over and did that. But how did they pay the Moors back? By putting them into slavery, enslavement. And so when these declarations were written and these rules were written, they were written for them, for their survival. So this is why, Toya, when you said, why did they change the rules? Because every time we get closer to the finish line, they pull it back.
Give us an extension of, you know, a bait and switch. Just do this. And then, yes.
They're always doing that game because they have to stop us from succeeding. Listen, when Black women are a threat to you, that's a problem, because we're coming up and the entrepreneurships, the education, because you have to go back to when you hear these discussions, they go back to what Black women are doing. So these programs in education was cut because they don't want us to succeed. We're going too far. We shouldn't be this smart. You got to remember, they always thought of us as being ignorant and dumb. We're not supposed to be reading or anything like that. So when we talk about history repeating itself, they want to bring back what was once happening, which is keeping us in the dark, not allowing us to read books and not figuring out who we are as a person, knowledge of self. This is what they do. So that's why when we talked about history earlier, when we began this show, it is very imperative that we begin to teach our children what it means to be Black. And that's just simply taking them to the museum and they gravitate to things. Like my granddaughter, she got hooked on Nzinga. So I had to give her a whole history of who Nzinga is. It was to the point she was telling people to call her Nzinga instead of Jordan. So I was like, okay, so if this is who she gravitated to, I had to let her know when Nzinga was a princess in this particular kingdom in South Africa, and she's looking at me, no, in Angola, because that's where she's from, Angola. She's looking at me like, really? So I had to show her this woman could ride a horse. She was a warrior. She fought back. She fought the Portuguese back. This is Nzinga, who was sitting on the back of one of her servants because the Portuguese didn't want her. They wanted her to sit on the floor. And she said, no, sir. I'm going to head and we're going to be eye to eye.
Jordan was like, she was like Shira.
Right. Exactly.
Shira, so that's what we'll call it, Shira.
Right. And that's the opportunities and things that we need to teach our children so they can have value in themselves. We are Black, we are beautiful, and we are brilliant. And we have been this way.
And water our babies. Water them. We talked to my niece about look in the mirror. You're beautiful. She wanted a hairdo. This is what this was today, yesterday to today, because sometimes we have to look in the mirror. I know when someone said to me, why you look in the mirror? I said, because an older cousin of mine, called him Cuz Bro, he said, you have to look in the mirror. Do you like who you see? Because you have to think, what are we doing with our hair? And everything? Because like you said, it's the image. And some of us are losing our lives to the image. Because I had considered liposuction. I ain't gonna lie, but life happened. And now I want to eat and I can't. So it's just the irony of it all. So I said, well, it's just really just believing in yourself and understanding what you're going to do. And I like that we always jump around, but it's pertinent because we have to do our current events. Mark always brings it in. And I know you love history. And I feel that we all are passionate for this and we have to have a common goal. That's the mission. And I think sometimes as people, we lose the mission of our lives. As an organization that we are involved in, govern yourself accordingly.
Govern yourself
When I
accordingly.
learned that, I heard it. We're giving it. You know how they say something, you got to hear it first. What you have to say, pre-contemplation, contemplation, stages of change. What is govern myself?
Right.
So it took me a minute. Then you understand when it says I have a choice. So everybody has a choice in life, but sometimes we don't. And that fear kicks in, as we said today with health. And we are grateful to our guest today, Summer Nyree Bailey, for meeting with us and sharing. And I wish we can get our other guests, but that in itself is saying that we all have what we got going on in our lives. And when we share just a little piece of that, it'll motivate someone. It's not about self. It's just that if you don't have a team, everyone needs a champion. Because a lot of times what I've noticed that when a person is quiet and they're nervous, being an empath is something that it hits them. And that's where when you're reading someone's energy, you're thinking it's something else. Because sometimes people wear a mask. We all wear a mask. My mask is, resilience. That's my main mask. However, I don't want to be performative. My new thing into 2026, I'm no longer being performative. I want to be available. I want to be valuable, not just available. And I think that's really what it is. And when you go through a health scare, how can you be valuable? You're just available because your body is tired. You get it?
Yeah.
Look at the analogy. You don't really want to do it. I am not okay, but I still get up as a survivor will, go out into the world, but I want to be valuable.
Yes.
Not just available.
Yes. Amen to that. So we are now reaching the end of our show. I know Mark pops in and out because he's probably at his at the community center, because I heard him say that. So, what we do best is, give you all a tidbit to walk away with. So, Toya, I'm gonna start with you. What is your takeaway today, and what are you gonna present to those on the couch that was listening to us?
For those listening today, and that's going to come back for the playback, you hear the word survivor. Survivor could mean anything. It was something that was traumatic to you. You didn't think you were going to get through it. You got through it. It's your story. So from there, what you're going to do is take those tools and be a blessing to someone else. Water someone else. Because I feel that paying it forward means that if I pay it forward, then I'm going to bless someone as someone did for me. So that's what I'm saying. If you receive that blessing, share it with the next one. That's my closing word today, being valuable and not available. Thank you, Dr. Donovan. It's always a blessing to come.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to have you waiting in the wings here. If Mark pops on, I'll give him an opportunity to say his closing remarks. But you know what? Today was a great day to hear about Summer Nyree Bailey and her survival. And like Toya said, we sometimes being put in positions where we may have to survive something, but our resiliency should be kicking in. We are naturally like that we make a way out of no way. So that's resilience. That's what we can stand on. That's what we're proud of as people that are African descent and also Native Americans. We stand up, we do what we have to do to survive. Resiliency, as I talked about before on the Butterfly Room, and be sure that you check in with the Butterfly Room. You should see us next Friday on the Butterfly Room, and then you'll see us again in 2 weeks, of course, here on the couch. So again, we thank you all for joining us, and remember to do some history. This entire month is, of course, Black History Month, but remember, we're Black 365 days of the year. Our history will never stop. We just add to it as we go along. So remember to at least read one thing or watch something related to Black history, even if something you never watched before. Challenge yourself and go back and watch it and see, how do you connect to that? What can you learn from the ones that came before us? Because they have paved the way for us. And this is why we're where we are today. And again, you joined us here on the couch and we appreciate you. And it's very, very cold outside today here in New Jersey, but this freeze is going across the at least on the eastern corridor. So I would hope that everyone take care of themselves, keep warm, be safe out here. And again, remember to take care of yourselves. Go to the doctor when you feel that something isn't right. Advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. And that's the most important thing you can do for yourself. But we thank you again for joining us here on the couch. Peace, love, and tranquility. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of On the Couch. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found it as enlightening and inspiring as I did. Remember, the stories and experiences we share here are just the beginning of a much larger journey. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, look for the notification on Facebook, and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us keep the conversation going and reach more listeners just like you. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep the dialogue alive. Peace, love, and tranquility. Take care, and we'll see you on the couch.